Okay, welcome everybody to the Qatar Association's meeting this evening on the Census 2021, your chance to be counted. So no doubt you've heard that the census is coming along, and maybe you've seen the advertising that started off over the last couple of days, saying that Census Day is on March 21, and it was nice to see one of our friends, Madhu Singh, featuring in the adverts, as you can see. And so right now I'm going to hand over to our president, Sushil Coudrie, president of the Qatar Association, to introduce our guest this evening. Please unmute. Sushil, please unmute. Right now I'm going to hand over to our president, Sushil, please unmute.
Okay, sorry. Yes, good evening, everybody. We have a great pleasure having three guests here. First one is Sushil Coudrie. She's a community advisor for Indian community for Hounslow and Hillingdon. And she's working through Office for the National Statistics. And she has been working for Office of the National Statistics since October 2020. And, you know, she says she really enjoying it. Then next on the list of our guest is Seema Malhotra, MP, and she's a shadow minister for employment. She was educated in London Borough of Hounslow and then studied politics and philosophy at Warwick University, and then did post-graduation in business and information studies at Aston University. She worked as a consultant in a big management consultant. The way you pronounce it, Akanshar. I presume that's where she met her future husband, Sushil Coudrie. She won the by-election in 2011 from Feltham and Heston, and by a margin of just over 6,000, and then she increased her margin. The next one is Virendra Sharma, MP. He came to England in 1968 and then studied at London School of Economics on a trade union scholarship. Virendra came to Hanwell as well and then started working on, like anybody else in those days, when the job was difficult to get. And he worked as a conductor on the famous 207 route. Later on, he was service manager, you know, at the people with the learning disabilities in Hillingdon. He initially joined the Liberal Party and then switched over to Labour. He has represented Ealing Council as a councillor and the mayor, and then winning the by-election in 2007 after the death of then MP Pyara Khabra. Strangely, both our two MPs are actually came to Parliament through by-election. It's great to see you, everybody. What I'll do, I'll just give you interesting facts about census. The word census actually comes from a Latin word, which means estimate. And the UK census, the first census was conducted in 1801. At the time, then every subsequent 10 years, there've been a census, with the exception of 1941 when there was a war. Last census we had in 2011, that's for England and Wales. Northern Ireland and Scotland are, given separate, are counted separately. The population at that time was 63.2 million. 4 out of every 5 described themselves as being a good or very good health. So we had about 81% of the population in England and Wales, healthy population. Most residents in England and Wales are white, or worldwide in 2011, 86% and 14% were non-white. Of the 13% of the resident in England and Wales in March who were born outside UK, just over half of them arrived in last 10 years. Just giving you a comparison between 2001 and 2011, Indians were 2 million in 2001, and by 2011, they were 2.5 million. Pakistanis were 1.4 in 2001. 2011, they were 2 million. Bangladeshis were 500,000 in 2001. And in 2011, were the 0.8 million. The number of cars increased over the last 10 years, which is 2001, 2011. But however, in London, there was a decrease in number of cars. Interesting one, there were 27.6 million men and 28.5 million women in England and Wales. Well, these are some interesting figures. And I like to ask our MPs here, starting with Seema. Seema, can you please tell us why it is so important for the government to spend so much money into conducting this census? And how do you use the data? Because you're the one who actually plan and allocate funds. Over to you, Seema, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And it's wonderful to join you and the Potahar Association today. I'm sorry that we can't meet, but I'm really grateful to you for hosting this event and for all the work that the association does. On the census, it is extremely important. And the reason being that the census is the way in which the government has the data of the whole population that it can make decisions on. It makes decisions on that for funding and for also for resources. That is done for local authorities or the health service or education, or for money that comes into communities. When the government's looking to say how many people are there in this area, or how many people from these communities, ethnic minority communities, other communities, if they don't have the data, then that can mean that funding ends up being reduced coming in. So then it can increase how difficult it can be for local communities to have those resources. So it can make the difference of maybe millions more than that coming into for local services if the government doesn't know that there are the people living there officially in the census, because the census is used to estimate and then to be able to do that for future planning purposes as well. And it also provides a level of detail that isn't possible from other government surveys. You know, the government does many surveys and it polls the population. It's like, they'll do samples all year round for the labour market and family finances as well. People may get approached to fill in those forms or take part in that research. But the census data is the one chance to do the whole population. And it's so important, particularly for smaller population groups or for showing where minority groups are living in different areas and to give that picture of the country as a whole. So for minority communities where, we may have seen even people not taking part, those communities end up losing out. Asian communities can end up losing out because we don't give a true reflection of how many people are living in those areas. So this is how census data contributes to these, we call them policy decisions, local government or what the council gets, the funding allocations. And as members of parliament, which is separate from the government, as members of parliament, we use that data to be able to challenge the government, to be able to ask questions of the government, to be able to lobby for resources for our constituencies. The better that data is, the more resources can come in and the better served our public services will be and all of our families will be.
So that does it mean when it comes to education, allocating funds for school, hospital, social services, does that include everything or?
All of those things have to be based on your population estimates quite a lot. The government has to have some way of having a formula for how to split up the cake, when the budget comes and then the funding comes to each department in the spending review. The government will be saying, as they're sitting there in Whitehall, well, how many people are living here? How many people in these minority communities? How much more might we need to add to local government funding for those that might be on lower incomes? How much more we might need to add for where there are older people living? How many more extended families are there where we might need to do, recognize that in funding? So it does make the funding decisions when you're making the formula in government, they use this data. And if we don't participate in the survey, then it means that areas where there are minority communities, particularly if they are doing less the survey, those areas end up getting less, because how else do you prove to the government if in the data it has on the national population, you're not represented? This is why it becomes very important for our whole community as well.
So that's interesting, Seema. When people apply for faith school, they're either turned down on the basis because they don't have statistics, rather than looking at your face and not saying like you don't qualify. So that's all those decisions are based on the census.
A lot of the census data, and then the census data is built on for other policy areas. So you're right, when it comes to something like faith schools, there'll be some evidence in the population, but it might be that anything maybe to do with faith, that understanding that comes from the census data. Also what range of religions there might be in different areas, interfaith work can be supported, so many things. The data is a layer, other things build on it, and you want that data to be the best. It's the best evidence and argument for the resources we need.
Thank you, Seema. Virendra ji, looking at the importance of these statistics here, how do you persuade the community to participate? What are you doing about it? Are you doing? I know you represent a very diverse community in Southall. Virendra ji, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. And first, thank you for organizing this webinar this evening. And thank you, Seema ji, for going into the details, why we hold these census and the benefits of it. What we are doing for the last 3 or 4 months, that we producing our own videos, like I had the videos in the different languages, persuading or asking people to make sure that they fill the census forms, and also encouraging them if there's a difficulty of completing, how they can get help from the resources. There's many thousands of field workers appointed with the different language skills so that they can go around and help people. But it's not only ending here. Government is very keen this time. They are putting extra resources so that everybody who is eligible to complete the forms must complete the forms. That's what they are doing. That's why they are giving the opportunities, sending the letters around, making sure that if the forms are not returned, the field worker visiting them. So as member of parliament, I'm sure Seema Sudan and other MPs also, particularly from the communities, 2 videos we have done so far. One is on the census in the different languages, Gujarati, Punjabi, Urdu, Somalian, Farsi, and others. I don't think Bengali I done it because it's not many Bengalis in my area, but certainly we have done that. And the other videos we have done is on the COVID-19, that why people should be going around making sure that they get tested and vaccinated. So that is the way of doing it. I have gone on to all TV channels from Indian background, particularly, and the radios I have, where I ask people to complete the forms, also get the vaccination. These are the two areas I'm campaigning, and I'm sure that everybody else is doing the same.
Okay, thank you, dear. Seema, do you get any feedback from your constituent? What do they think of this? Do you have a feel? Are they going to do anything? Is the number going to increase over 80%, like over and above what we did last census?
I very much hope so, and I do want to just sort of appreciate all that Virendra has said and is doing as well. I very much hope so, but I think the difficulty has been this, that, whilst I've also, talking to the local council about how we increase the take up, it's very difficult to get more than one message out to the community. And at the moment, so much has also been on the vaccine and testing and all of those issues that lockdown has made also even more important. But what I do think is that people are kind of seeing that this is coming, and the main thing is to remember to do it on the day. I think that there will also be more government sort of led kind of communications that I'm sure we'll hear about. But I think it will be important that as we lead up to that we have more discussions on radio and TV channels and in the media, so that in that period people are focused on making sure that any questions are answered, and that everybody fills it in fully, comprehensively. So this is where we're already planning activity for that sort of first, from next week onwards, for that sort of 3 to 4 weeks leading up. This will be important when people are starting to think about it. And if anyone has any questions, that they are encouraged to get those answered as well.
But Seema, I was reading somewhere that Office of the National Statistics, they're thinking perhaps...
Could I add?
Sure. Virendra ji, go ahead.
Just to give one, it's a warning bit. I'm sure that other person coming can go more into the details, that there's 2 or 3 attempts by the government department to make sure that the forms are returned and filled and returned. One fear is that if the forms are not returned, it can go on your record as a criminal record. That's the message we need to give. That's why government is doing their level best to communicate at all levels, as using the faith groups and others mediums. I think that is the message need to go, those who are reluctant to complete. The other point which I get the feedback, those people who may not be the permanent residents of this country, but we call illegal immigrants. As far as the British government is concerned, who are the people living? There's no immigration records kept on that they are not asking you whether you are living in this country permanent regularly or not. As far as they are concerned, they wanted to see it, that you are on the day in this country.
Interesting, you say it's a criminal. I thought it was a civil duty to fill in, and if you're a constant offender, you could be fined. But I don't know, whether it's a criminal offense. It's a civil duty, is it not?
I mean, as I use the term very carefully, because it's not very clear yet, but I was advised that there's a possibility of fine plus the going on your record as a criminal offense.
I just remember one thing. I think, Watford, which is very close to Harrow here, at one time, there's still a large Muslim community. but the Watford Hospital, General Hospital, never had a woman gynecologist. So come, 1991, they just pulled up their resources and, they said, look, this is a sizable community. And the result was immediately a lady gynecologist was appointed. So that is the importance of, making your case.
Can I just add one point? I think that's a very good point, because what it is not always just about resources, but about how do you serve the communities better, and what might the different needs be. We know different communities, minority communities, also have greater likelihood of different types of illnesses, and it helps make sure that there's those services locally. I think that that is important. But one point I just wanted to add to Virendra's comments, the areas where I do have concern is where there are the English is not spoken as much, and that will be within Indian community to some extent as well, but also Somali community, some other communities. And I think what is important is to see how maybe as a community we are able to raise that awareness and make sure people understand how it's important that way, particularly where English is not spoken, because it will feel like quite a difficult exercise for those that aren't familiar.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think, I was reading somewhere else, that perhaps this may be the last census we have the way we have it, because ONS, Office of the National Statistics, they want to reduce amount of money they spend on such things. Perhaps they want to use some other means of collecting the head count. But it's very important. I think we will keep talking to both of you, and let's get Sushil Coudrie here from who's helping the community. Sushil, can you please come over?
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Chanji. Thank you for inviting me to this Zoom meeting, and to the Patwar Baradari as well. I'm really honored to be on this. And as Chanji and Seema ji and Virendra ji have been talking about the census, it is mandatory, and if it's not filled up by the 21st of March, people are going to come knocking on your doors, and they are going to be asking you why you haven't done it. Do you have any problem doing it? And with regards to it being the last census, I doubt it. It is digital first, so it is going to be online, but paper version can be requested. All the household members are going to receive the access code by end of February, or by starting of March, and with that they will get a telephone number. So people who are going to struggle not filling it up online, they can request the paper version by phone, which is an automatic service, and they just need to give their household number and ask for either like a form which would have all the family members, or for just one individual, depending on your household. So I'm sure Seema ji and Virendra ji have covered up quite a lot of the census bit, but it is quite important for us as the Indian community to make sure that we do the census, and make sure that especially the Sikh community needs to be very active. We are trying, me as an Indian community advisor, I'm trying my best to reach out to all the Sikh organizations and get them to get involved. I have got the Hanslow Gurdwara and the Southall Gurdwara involved, and they are reaching out to the community as well.
Are you not going to any mandir and masjid at all, or just you going to Gurdwara?
I'm doing Gurdwaras, I'm doing mandirs as well.
Thank you.
And with the mustards, it's more my manager who's dealing with it, because that comes a bit political, I would say, because they come under Pakistani, so they can they are dealing with it. But I'm dealing with all the other Indian community, Gujaratis, Tamils, like for the whole Hindu community and the Sikh community. I was taken on as a advisor for the Sikh community, but ended up being Indian community. So I think it's a very interesting job that I'm doing, because I've come across so many organizations and who are very open to take part in the census. I think it's only been one organization which we had to stand down because of some. They wanted us. I can give you the reason. They wanted us to be the Sikh to be included in the ethnic group, which is not in our hands. It's because the form has been set up by going through different stages, and it's a parliamentary approval that we have got it. So yes, I have got a form that I have that I'm going to put up. And we are just going to go through it very briefly to just let everybody know the way we need to fill it up. And with that way, as an Indian community, we can actually get us recognized.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. So you have the form.
Bhupinder ji is going to share it.
Okay. Bhupinder, can you share the form? Okay. Good. Okay.
Okay, so you can see the form on screen. This is, if you request a paper form, you'll get something like this. I think initially you'll get a letter with an access code, which would be here. And like it did say, like we did discuss earlier on, like it's on this form, it says you must take part in the census by law. And so that is written there quite clearly on the form. So yeah, Sushilji, I can scroll through the form.
Yeah.
And,
so when you go down, it's this is a family form. So you fill up, how many people are there in your household, and then you fill up your details as a head of the household. You'll fill up your details first, and then carry on from there. If you scroll down, I think it was question for 15, I think we are looking for.
15, okay. Yeah, that's 15 here. What type ethnic group?
Yeah. So if you look at this, they're asking what is your ethnic group. So they've got in the starting, they've got English, Welsh, Scottish. If you could please scroll down. A bit more. We need the Indian.
Asian, yeah. 15C. Here.
Yeah. So so we need to take Indian here, which would be like, because we are from India, so we need to take Indian.
Okay.
And then
now if you are from Chinese or any other region, you can put there. Okay.
Yeah. And then here on question number 16, it says the question is voluntary, but if you see, they have given Buddhist, Hindu, Jewish, Muslim, Sikh, any other religion.
Sushil, can I just Sushil, can I just go back to 15C again, please?
Yeah.
Bhupinder, can we go back to 15C? Okay. All right. 15C is you got Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Chinese, any other Asian background.
Yeah.
Okay. If you are Japanese, you will put the Japanese there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So the language doesn't come here.
No, the language comes further down.
Okay. Good.
18.
Okay.
Okay. So now, here I would say that make sure you tick Sikh, because that's the only
If you are
way.
a Sikh, if you are
Yeah.
a Sikh, you will want to put Sikh. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a Hindu, you put a Hindu.
Okay.
But if you're a Sikh, you tick Sikh. So depending on what religion. If you're like, I'll just give an example. Like we have a certain community called Jain. Now
Yeah.
they are not counting themselves as Hindu. They are counting them as a different religion. So they are going to put Jain down there.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can.
That's fair comment. That's fair.
Yeah. So we as Sikh, we need to take that and make sure because that's what is going to make us count in the data. And then further down, so where it says what is your main language, again, if you take other and you put Punjabi, that would be another way of where we are getting recognized, that we have got this many people speaking Punjabi in this.
Can you just hold there? Can I ask both Virendra, Sharma and Seema here? You know, second gen, I have no problem in writing here, you know, Punjabi, because I speak Punjabi, but, you know, we're looking at the second generation, you know, our kids, probably those who don't speak any other language, that will be English, will it not, Virendraji?
It is up to the individual how he or she put there, but it is generally considered the household language commonly used in the house, and that is what is needed. So that's why the Punjabis are saying, I mean, my grandson who is born and have very little communication in Punjabi, but he have the communication, he understands, and he will use Punjabi. The others will use Hindi, Gujarati, or other languages.
Okay, so that column goes to your mother tongue, so to speak.
Yeah, that's
That's
Seema,
right.
do you agree with that, Seema? Seema,
Yeah.
are you still there?
Thank you. I couldn't unmute myself.
Okay.
Look, I think it is for each person to fill in exactly as they can for themselves, because I think it will be saying what is your main language that will be there. So I think this is where if people are not sure, or you're saying that there might be some confusion, I think this is where a little bit of the explanation coming with it will be helpful. It is also the case that, as well as those like Sushil who are very much helping, the government will have census centres, that should be around. I don't know whether lockdown will be finished, but otherwise there's online and also I think phoning to be able to just sort of get any advice where people are feeling unclear how they should fill it out for themselves and their families. But the main thing is to really just respond as you feel is right for you.
Mm-hmm. So really, whether you speak or not, you really, I mean, I think it's quite vague question, really. You think, what is your main language, as opposed to, the grandkids don't speak Punjabi, although they understand. I speak to my granddaughter in Punjabi, but they understand, but they always reply in English. So it's and anyway. So,
but Sushil can correct me. The department has employed temporary staff with the different language skills, Gujarati, Punjabi, and they have actually gone out of their way to recruit the people.
Yeah, that's right.
Advertising with the language skills.
Yeah, no, that's right, Virendraji. We are nearly, I would say, if I'm not mistaken, about 7,000 people around the country who have been taken on to interact with the community. And that question is a bit confusing, but I would say what we are looking here is to put, like Gujarati people are going to put Gujarati, different people, Tamil people are going to put Tamil. And the surprising bit is that I haven't seen any Sikh videos going out, but the Tamils have sent out videos, Jain have sent out videos, and they're all speaking in their own language, which is like a very sort of personal. So
have you produced a video in Punjabi or not?
Haven't yet.
Virendra.
Yes, I have done it.
Okay.
Maybe
you can send us a link that we can distribute.
I will.
Thank you. Virendra, if you can send me that link as well, it would be really helpful.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you. Yeah. So I think the rest of the form is quite self-explanatory there. It's like before you're filling up for one individual, then you're filling up for the second individual. Naturally, if you have got only one person in the household, then you're going to fill only one person form for that household. I have suggested to Chanji that going maybe next month, once everybody has got the access form, we could have a Zoom meeting again, and we could talk you through how to fill the form if anybody is having problems. And that way we can just go through the question by question, and you can fill it up yourself, but get advice at the same time.
Okay, there's a query here. In section 15C, that's the same one. Under any other, can I put Indian Sikh? So let's have a look, Bhupinder, section 15C again. There's a question by one of the audience. He says, in section 15C, can I put Indian Sikh there? Let's have a look 15C again. Let's Seema here.
Yeah.
Asian or British Indian, right? It says, okay, you are Indian, that's it. So if he wants to say if he doesn't take any of these, can he put under any other Asian background as Indian Sikh? Can he put that?
He can. He can. I don't see any problem there.
I think that's the important thing, is that it's filled in as people will feel it's best for them. I think that that's the most important thing. Then the data can be collated as it as it comes through as well.
So I guess if we write Indian Sikh, it will automatically go to Indian.
Yes. I don't know. Well, I think Sushil's right. I think about I think when there's the event, if you can have another event next month, I think that will be quite helpful to go through some of those points, and I think I think the main thing is that people fill in what is appropriate for them.
Well, here's another one. He says, can we say British Sikh to be more accurate?
I think if we really want to generalize ourselves, I think it's better to say any other and put Sikh in the column.
Okay. But you have put Sikh elsewhere, haven't you, when it comes to religion?
Yeah, we have put it under religion, but if you want to be more specific, you can put Sikh in the ethnic as well.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no harm in that. But it's again up to the individual how he feels and how he wants to fill up.
Okay. So Sushil,
can I be blunt on that?
Sorry, go on.
Can I be little blunt on that?
Right.
I think that those people who wanted to show as non-Indian themselves, they will definitely put Sikh. Okay. That's a campaign going on. There's no doubt in anybody's mind. There is a very strong, active campaign. The people who don't want to associate themselves with India, they will put Sikh with British or Khalistan. They will put something in that. That's not a doubt. No. Be honest with yourself. This is the fact. People are campaigning, and there's no problem. Sushilji can verify there are the people who are actively campaigning. There was a strong representation with the census department to change the forms. So people will use what they think is right for them to do. What
Okay.
we need to do is,
Okay, Virendra
what
ji,
we need to do is canvas on the line what is there and say, what do you think they can put it?
All right.
Nobody will challenge that.
there's another one. If someone is from Kenya, from the last 3 generations, so I guess he will put Kenyan.
No, they don't.
No.
You're Indian. You're Indian.
So
Even if
the
you're
quick-
Sushil, that's a question. He says if someone is from Kenya for the
Yeah.
last 3 generations, so can he not put a Kenyan?
no, Kenyan, not Kenyan.
Not okay.
Because you're
Chandraji,
still
just to reiterate, the question is, what is your ethnic identity?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
That's
basically
it.
you have to
Okay.
look at yourself
Yeah.
and see where your
That's right.
origins are.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I myself, I was born and brought up here in England, and so I regard myself as British.
Yeah.
But when I look at myself, then obviously I obviously look Indian. So
That's
someone
it.
who's come from Kenya,
That's
they
right.
also have an ethnic origin of India, and so that's the question. It's the ethnic origin.
I think
Yeah.
that's a good one, Kupinder. I think that's what it is. You look at the
Yeah.
origin. How do you are perceived? You see, when anybody looks at you, it's true that you will be immediate comes to mind that you are Indian. Another
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there is. I do feel there is an issue with the whole the categories that we've got. We've got those categories of Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, and so on. Whereas actually, when we look at India, there's a big difference between Punjabis and Tamils and Maharashtrians, and actually a lot of people from India have those identities, and obviously that we can't. I mean, the Census Department has decided not to break that down into lots of different categories. But obviously, people from India either have a Punjabi ethnic origin, or a Maharashtrian, or a Tamil, and so on. So actually, the question, the categories that are available are not wide enough, and I suppose they've just generalized too much.
Well,
Yeah,
I
no,
think as Virendra ji has said, you do whatever you feel like. If you want to put Sikh, put Sikh. If you want to put Indian Sikh, British Sikh, whatever, whatever you like. I think,
Yeah.
and it will be picked up by its owners as they seem fit. Sushil ji, what else you want to tell us about the form? Is there the deadline is 21st, or is there any days grace period we have, or?
No, so we are going to get the access codes by starting of March. People can start filling it up from then on. They might take a day or two, or they might take longer, or they might do it in a couple of hours. But the last day to submit it online is on 21st of March. If by 21st, and even paper submission has to be done by then, before the 21st, so that at least the owners can get the paper forms as well. And now, in case people are struggling, or they have forgotten to fill it up, people are going to start knocking on the doors. We have got people who are going to go to door and going to be asking, are there any issues? Do you need any help doing it? So, and this will be done with the forms submitted. And if it's not done, as Seema ji, was it Seema? No, Virendra ji said that it is mandatory, and they could be taken to court and fined at the same time.
Thank you, Sushil. I think, are there any more questions from, please? I don't see any more question on the chat. So are there any more questions? Yeah, you have, Paramjit, you have to write. You have to write on the chat, please. You have to write on the chat your question. Okay. Virendra ji, your closing remarks, please. And then we ask Seema for the closing remark. Virendra ji, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Mine is just that we need to be proactive. and making sure that everybody in our contacts, wherever we have the possibilities to convince people, giving the importance of the subject, that they must complete the forms. These 2 or 3 issues, which is on the ethnicity, religion, your language, these, I think that we need to leave those to individuals to choose, but to tell them that they can write whatever they think is appropriate for them. One point which is, I think Bhapinder said, that whether there are 29 states in India, but British system only recognize India as one, those states as part of India. So they will take it as Indian. Those who are wanted to get out of that, they have a choice to write. Whether the system will accept it or not, we have to wait and see. But encourage everybody, and I will ask my staff to send you my video in Punjabi.
Okay, and one more question here, Sushil, I think, will there be people knocking on the door, wearing PPE and social distancing, asking for the form?
Yes, they will be. They are being trained to how they are going to go and meet the people. They have been given PPE and been told they have to keep a safe distance. They will not be entering the house. They will be staying outside and talking to them with their iPads if need be. They will just stay out.
There's another question here. I presume that parents will be filling in on behalf of their infants.
Yes, that's right. So so the form that that was earlier on, it was a household form. So they'll fill it up accordingly,
okay,
with how many members they have.
Thank you. Seema ji, your closing remarks, please.
Thank you. I want to firstly thank you for this very, I think, useful, informative session. I want to just to emphasize the point that Virendra ji made as well, that we're going to have to make sure that people are taking part and filling in the form, and they are aware. But also, I think that they're aware that there is support in different languages as well. As was said, there are people who are trained, but with online, with the telephones and other ways in which, if there's any questions, that can be done. Because the language on the form is not that easy to understand if English isn't your first language. So being able to have either some of the community support or being able to phone and find some other support, this will be helpful. And the more who can do it earlier, especially using online if they can, that's also better. So I think that is very helpful. And I do think that as the codes come out, that it may be helpful to do another session, because people will be thinking about it at that time, and to be able to go through that together.
While you're on, Seema, there's a question for you here. What is the level of use of this census data to allocate job opportunities in a given territory?
I think it's difficult to say about job opportunities, but one thing that is noted is that when businesses are thinking about locating, or for example, supermarkets saying, where should we put our supermarket, or offices saying, where should we put our base, one of the data sets that companies think about, as well as locating, for example, public services, they'll look at the census data as well. So there are many ways in which that data is used, and I think that's why for the community to see that data goes and is used for many things. That's why taking part makes a difference for everybody, not just the family or the person.
Could I add something here, Ms. Coudrie, that if you look at, you are a businessman, you will only move into the area where you find that there's a potential customers living, job creation as well as the customers. So it helps the businesses to decide on the basis of this database where to move, what kind of jobs they need in that area, and whether they will be successful or not. So job creation goes with when the business move into that area, and business will move when they see that they got the potential there.
And I have a feeling this question was really related to the government or the local authority,
No.
where you set up, a satellite office or something different. You want to set up, like, for example, COVID-19 operation. You want to set up, a resource center or something. We say you will probably think twice to say, shall I put it in Southall, for 6 months here, or shall I put in Heston or in between somewhere where there are, no jobs, anyway, that's good. The last one here, I attended the meeting with ONS and requested them to make form in plain English, but they did not have enough time to change the form. Will they do it next time? Well, Paramjit, I think, next time is again, people have to.
Can I just make a point on this, because I think we'll get through this census, but things may change for future. But this has certainly been an issue raised in Parliament, and we will keep raising that, because if the government wants the best data to make the best informed decisions, then it needs to make it easy to get that data. So, this is why there's many good reasons to try and make the form simpler where possible. Any difficulties that we hear, that we see, that the community sees, this, I'm sure, all MPs will be taking that feedback and giving that feedback for anything like this in the future.
Were you not consulted at the time of devising this form? Or?
It has gone through some stages, but you see, it doesn't always happen in a timely way. We've had two elections in the last 3 years as well. So many of these things end up being quite condensed debates and not always able to change things in the same amount, because this takes a long time to go through the government process.
Yeah.
Well, Your Honor, can I just ask you, what is your feedback on the COVID vaccination in your area?
On COVID vaccination, I think the first thing I'll say is that many people are taking the vaccine, even those who were vaccine hesitant before. Mm-hmm. But there is still much more work to do. I think particularly, older generation feeling unsure. Is it just as am I going to be protected by other ways if I do herbal remedies or other things? And so this is a real worry, because COVID, people think it's like flu, but actually it becomes an inflammation of your organs. It's much more than flu. It affects the lungs, the other organs of the body. It destabilizes the body. It causes the organ damage. So many people die of those complications. I'm dealing with one family. Both parents have passed away in the last 3 weeks.
Oh my.
And now one of the daughters is in hospital with COVID. And this is an Asian family. I think we have to take this issue very more seriously sometimes, about what the risk is and how important the vaccine is to protect the individual, also the family, because you reduce the spread, and also in the community. But I think the other thing is making vaccines easier. And so this is where, certainly in Hounslow, we've been working for the last 6 weeks with our local health service. They have, I'm very glad they've increased the numbers that are housebound able to get the vaccine. That took some time. Bringing more vaccination centres closer to people. We had a big difficulty in Feltham. We worked very hard. Now at least there are the vaccines happening in Feltham as well. So this is how it makes a difference. The vaccines have to be done close to where people live. And that too has made a difference.
We got another question here, Seema, directly at you. How will you use the feedback you have from here and in MP's question time? Whatever you learned here today.
Yeah, if it's in relation to the census, I think this will be very significant to try and raise next week after, when Parliament is back, if we can. Parliament is virtual still, so we're not in as many debates. But I think definitely, we'll have to raise that in the questions where we can in Parliament. And the next 2 weeks will be very important for doing that, because people will start to get their codes and they need to know what's happening. So definitely we'll try and get this raised in Parliament next week.
Virendra ji, your very last word on COVID vaccination, please. I think we still got 3 minutes left or a little bit time.
I will ask everybody to make sure that your contacts are not scared of vaccination. There are the rumors. I'm sure the Seema also face that from the community, that there's a rumor going around that this vaccination have the animal fat in it, cow or the pork. They're naming it. So don't get scared. There's no such thing. Second is that Black communities are Afro-Caribbean, Somalians are very high for hesitancy. Then the Muslim communities not accepting it. The Indians are there, but in the lower end of those who are hesitant to receive it. I'm saying that go around, ask everybody, they must get it. If they are not bothered about themselves, they should be bothering about their own family members and the community around them. Otherwise, it could be, as Seema said, we got the examples where the 6 members in the same family within 4 days passed away. So that's the fear, and it's not scary, scaremongering exercise. It's the facts that we must get ready to get this vaccination done. As soon as you get the message, go and get it done.
Well, Sharma ji, all I say, I can assure you, we're doing our best. We had this program, 1-hour program on the COVID vaccination. We had 3 doctors from Middlesex Hospital, and we're serving langar to the volunteers, NHS volunteers in Harrow. We're doing all of our best, and we thanks to people like you who keeps encouraging and really participating with us. We have a huge community, Potowar community, which is in 2 of your territories, Ealing, Hounslow, Feltham, Southall. So thank you very much for joining us and helping us, just giving the message across to the other side. And Sushil, thank you very much and appreciate that. And we hopefully see you again. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.